Good morning, everyone. This is Dana Blakeney-Hipsch from the Research Institute this morning. I think we have the majority of our attendees on. Did everyone have an easy time connecting, getting online? Does everyone have audio?
Yes.
Thank you for whoever that was. I appreciate it. I see the chat box going perfect. So today we get the pleasure of having Sarah Marble actually do our update webinar for the month. So Sarah, I'm going to hand it over to you. For those of you who have questions at any point during the presentation, feel free to raise your hand. I'll call on you or utilize the chat box, and that's how we'll kind of keep participation going this morning. But again, Sarah, welcome.
Thanks, Dana. Hi, everybody. I want to warn you that this is the first time I have presented anything via webinar. So just please have a little bit of patience and tolerance for me this morning. I'd be very grateful. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Pam Deerdorf, the director of Oregon Center for Career Development, and I created this webinar based on the survey results. So the first thing I want to do is thank you all for filling out the survey. And then before I get into the specifics, I'm curious who is on the call today. I can see in the window, but I'm wondering if we could just take a minute for those people just with phone numbers to introduce themselves. I think we might have a varying range of what people know, so there may be some repetition today, but if you wouldn't mind introducing themselves quickly, would that be all right?
Yeah, so I'll try to call on folks. Since I introduced myself, again, this is Dana from the Research Institute. Nate, I'm going to call on you since you're the next one on the list.
Awesome. Nate Weingardner. I'm also from the Research Institute, kind of helping Dana today back up this call.
And thank you. As with Sarah, I'm rather new to the webinar, so hopefully we won't have any technical difficulties. And many of you received, I'm sure, my email this morning. I thought we were starting at 9, so thanks for all being prompted on time, and sorry to scare you with that email at 9 a.m. this morning. For our next introduction, we have Antoinette. Did I get your name right?
Yes. It's Antoinette Forte, and I'm at Clackamas ESP.
Thanks, Antoinette.
Elizabeth? Elizabeth C.
Hello, I'm Christina from FDA 4. Oops, can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So do we have Elizabeth C. or Elizabeth M. on the line?
Elizabeth Maya is here, and I'm also at Clackamas ESD for Child Care Resource and Referral.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
And next on our list, I guess we're going to jump back up to Sherry. She's just joined us. Sherry, do you have audio yet? We'll come back to Sherry. Heather?
This is Heather Frelinger from SDA 6 in Douglas County, Child Care Research and Referral.
Thanks, Heather.
Jessica, are you on the line?
Yes, this is Jessica. I'm in SDA 5, Resource and Referral.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you.
This is Kathleen Walker-Henderson from QRS Specialist in Klamath Falls.
Thanks, Kathleen. We've been on the phone a bit this morning already.
Lindsay, are you available?
Hello, this is Lindsay from SDA 5.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you.
Lynette?
Good morning, this is Lynette from SDA 5 as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nina? We'll go ahead and skip her. Rita, are you on? Rita might be joining us as well. I see Nina's written in the chat box that she's just listening in. Good morning, good morning.
Starla and Christina from SDA 14.
Good morning. Susan?
Susan, let us know in the chat box. She's just listening.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there anybody else on the line that we've skipped?
This is Cherie Dunning from SDA 8.
Hi, Cherie.
Hi.
Anyone else? I see a few people are typing in the chat box.
Okay, well, let's go ahead then and get started. Thanks, everyone, for introducing yourself. The other thing is I'm still sort of new in my position as registry coordinator and trying to figure out who everybody is and where they are. So I appreciate you bearing with me. I know introductions can be a bit tedious at times, so thank you. So we're hoping that this will be the first in a series of webinars or trainings that we are developing based on the survey results that everyone filled out. Thank you again for participating in that. I was really surprised that we had a lot of, I think we had 70 or more responses, so thank you very much. One of the things that came up in the survey was that we still wanted to make sure that the differences between all of the components were clear to everyone, especially with how to communicate them to the professionals that you're working with, mainly the online portion that's ORO, the Career Lattice, which is the STEP program, and then the Credentials, which is yet another one of our little programs. And then understanding the changes and the intent of the changes to the STEPS requirements that take place on January 1st, and to help professionals figure out how to work with those changes. And then also just in general to make sure that we're giving the communication that you need to be able to give effective advising to the folks that you're working with. So hopefully that is what you came here for today. I wanted to give a summary of some updates of the registry for 2016. So we'll be accepting degrees and coursework from nationally accredited higher education institutions as well as the regionally accredited. So for the folks who there's a lot of people, it looks like, who got degrees at Ashworth, which is an online institution that their degrees didn't count for registry purposes for a STEP, and their college course credits were considered to be community-based training. Those people can now have their degrees considered for their STEP and have their college courses counted as college courses. We don't fully have the implementation of that ready yet, so in the meantime, people have just been getting directly in touch with me, and I've been reissuing their STEP based on this change. For out-of-field degrees, we used to have a rule that when we were looking at STEPs, we only considered the coursework within the degree, but we now look at all college coursework. That's actually been happening for a while, but just want to make sure everybody knew that. And then, of course, we have the implementation of the new STEP requirements, which is some additional requirements for human growth and development, understanding guiding behavior, and learning environments and curriculum. And then we also believe that the STEP application fee will be coming back, but I'm not sure when that will be. And it's also possible that we'll extend it a little bit more. But it should be coming back sometime within 2016. Any questions about that summary so far? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on and talk to you about the results of the Professional Development Advising Survey. So these were, one of the questions was about what you thought was most important from the provider's perspective, and the top three were choosing training and education for licensing requirements, finding community-based training that fits the professional development plan, and applying for an Oregon registry step. So I think these first two things are going to be something that we need to develop a a whole session on with input from all of our partners. So today we'll be covering applying for an Oregon registry step. And these were the other, this is how the 1 through 10 was how all of the concepts were ranked by order of importance. Okay, so next in the results was the confidence level that folks have about talking to professionals about these different things. So the knowledge and skills, people felt least confident about the changes to the STEP requirements and least confident differentiating about the different Oregon registry components and how to communicate those to professionals, and we'll be covering that today. Another thing that was on the list of things people were less confident about was helping providers access college opportunities. And again, that's something we felt would need kind of its own topic, again, with input from all of our partners. And then how to determine the pathway for the highest step. And we'll be talking about that a little bit today. And again, confidence, the least confident was helping providers articulate their Step 7 or CDA to college course credit. And I thought we might talk about that a little bit, but realized we probably need a little bit more information since it's different at all the different community colleges. Again, the topic of helping providers get ready for college and find college courses, and then differentiating between the CDA and an Oregon registry credential. And incorporating adult education principles. So these are the things that people wanted to know about most, and the ones in blue are the ones that we're going to try to cover today, with the other ones coming in the future. Okay. So this is the visual we use to try to help people make sense of all of the different components of the registry. The registry itself includes the steps, it includes ORO, which is the online component of the registry, and the credentials. On this side, these are the ways that we interact with programs, with licensing, with the quality improvement, and with the CCR&Rs. And then over here, we have how we interact directly with providers. So they're able to apply for their advanced registry step. We have the scholarship program and the education awards. And then the online component is sort of both programs can use and individuals can use, and it's sort of its own separate little piece there. Okay. And again, another way of looking at the individual supports, we get training a number of ways. We get it with the cover sheet. It comes through the training calendar, which you all often are putting in for us. And then we get it with the Oregon registry step. And for individuals, they can access their professional development statement, and they can also apply for a step when they reach certain benchmarks. And then, of course, data for the quality improvement and the information that licensing gets. Okay, so one of the questions I hear a lot from professionals that also came up in the service and the survey results was the difference between ORO and the STEPS program, the Career Lattice. So ORO is just the online component of the Oregon registry, and we like to use the analogy that it's a bank account that holds all of the records. It also is a statewide database, and it produces the professional development summary, which we like to think about using the bank analogy like a bank statement. So it's just that kind of one little piece of all of our programs. And here's the professional development statement, which I think you're all pretty familiar with. And the My ORO, where it's where individuals can log in and find it, which again I think most of you are mostly comfortable with. Okay, so then the difference between ORO and the Oregon registry steps, and also known as the career lattice. So again, using our bank analogy, the STEPS program is like a savings bond. So when you get a certain amount of money, you can exchange it for a bond that will then give you interest. And to review the training and education for the STEP, we need an application. I think there's still confusion, and I myself think it's confusing. The first 2 steps are automatic, and then after that we have to have an application to be able to assign a STEP. And currently our process is that we need an application every time somebody would like to have their training and education reviewed. So that can be frustrating for people, especially when the fee is in effect. Though there is always an option on the application to say that there's a hardship. A person doesn't have to explain the hardship and not pay the fee. But we do need an application every time. So, and then I think you all know that the Career Lattice and the STEPS program is a way for us to recognize people's professional development. And it has the 12 steps for representing the increased training and education that's related to the core body of knowledge. I put in some slides of the application just to remind people that only the first 3 pages have to be filled out. I see Lynette is saying, wouldn't it be wonderful as automatic? And we all here wish that were the case. And I think probably someday it will be automatic, that we will figure out how to do that. The one good thing about having it not be automatic is that we can individualize a little bit, and we can get in there and move core knowledge categories around in certain classes. So that is one advantage of having it not be automatic, is it does allow us to individualize a little bit. So the only thing that really has to be filled out are the first 3 pages of the application, which even some of those 3 pages are optional. The ethnicity information is optional, though we are wanting to collect that information to be able to make sure that our programs and our partners' programs, that we can find ways to make sure they're representing all of our professionals. One thing I thought was interesting is that the last workforce report showed that our field of early care and school-age professionals is more diverse than the Oregon workforce, but still not quite as diverse as the children that we serve. So we get really interesting information from this part. Again, if somebody isn't working yet, they don't have to fill out what their position is. So yeah, if somebody wasn't working, they don't need to tell us about where they work. And even if they are, it's optional. We also ask how they fund their training and education. Again, this is to collect information about our workforce so we can figure out how to help people better so they can get on that college pathway. And then the most important thing is that they sign at the bottom. And if they're going for the quality improvement program, they need to sign and read the code of conduct. So again, fees are waived through December 15th, or through December of 2015, so coming back next year. And they submit all of their information with their STEP application if it's not already in their Oro account. And I know we count on you guys a lot to find out what's already in there and what's missing. Okay, so now would be a good time for questions or comments. So what kind of questions do you get from people that you're working with about the application? And what strategies do you use? And if you have any ideas for us about helping with that communication. So I see Lynette has raised her hand.
I have to take myself off mute. So I just had a question about the application fee. We're going to I've told everyone that it's expiring the end of December. Is that date for all applications received until that date versus being processed by that date?
Yeah, that's always our goal, is to, it's also the same with the new steps, is that anything received before December 31st will be a process with the before December 31st rules. So
okay.
Even if we don't process it until January, it will get December treatment, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. Other feedback you get from professionals that you'd like to share? I see Susan's typing, so I'll give her a second. Oh, so a lot of times professionals don't know their license number. Are you referring to the license of their facility? Okay. So if they are a, that's really good feedback to have, and I always wonder that too, like how do people get that number, because only their supervisor has that. So if they don't have it and they're working at like a registered family where they don't have a supervisor they can ask, how do other people deal with this? Because I have some ideas, but my ideas might not be the best. I see lots of people typing, so I'll wait for a second. So a lot of you are looking it up for them. We can look it up for them if they call. I see Starla saying that the centers are required to post the license. I think this is part of the growing pains, too, about facilities becoming licensed and people not really understanding that whole process. I think it's related to a lot of times people don't know that we have all their training in Oro because their directors have sent it. So I think that is a really good feedback, and I can try to find out what the official way is. Generally, if they are at a center, then their supervisor has to sign the Ed Award page and can put it on for them. But I appreciate all of you looking that information up for them ahead of time. And I'm going to make a note of that. See Heather's typing, so I'll wait for her. Some certified family and registered family providers don't know that the license number refers to their actual license. Yeah, I see a lot of people, too, getting confused about their central background registry number and their license number. So they have like a million different codes to learn. So, yes, and the UID. So this reminds me of another thing that we're trying to do that didn't make it to my summary, which is that we are looking at starting like a Facebook and posting some sort of frequently asked questions, and this would be a good one for us to do maybe, is sort of an explanation of what all these different numbers mean and which is from which office and which one you need to know. So thank you. Any other feedback or questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, oh wait, I see Susan's typing again, so I'm going to wait. Yeah, Susan typed that she's surprised at how little the staff seem to know about where they work. And I think probably all of us have experienced that. And I think that's part of our sort of charge about this whole, all these more facilities becoming licensed is figuring out how to give them some more ownership over what is happening. Like, again, the directors submitting training and people getting their professional development statement for the first time and being like, I had no idea you had all that information. So that's really good feedback. Thank you, Susan. Okay, any other questions or comments before we move on? Okay, so now going into the Oregon Registry 2015 steps changes. So these start January 1st, 2016. They are not retroactive, so if people have a step, it will not be reevaluated or taken away from them. It's only for new step applications. There are no changes to the community-based pathway, only the degree, credential, and certificate pathway and the college course credits pathway. And the main change is that there are additional requirements in human growth and development, learn environments and curriculum, and understanding and guiding behavior. And this change came about because we received feedback, and so then we took this feedback to the Qualifications, Credentials, and Pathways Committee, which is a subcommittee of the State Professional Development Committee, and decided to add these requirements. When we did some initial sort of data testing, we looked at people who were getting steps for a couple of months, and we gave them the step using the current document, and we looked and saw what step they would get if we were using the new document, and it appeared that about a third of people would have gotten a lower step than they received. So we're looking at about a third of people being affected. We are now accepting college coursework outside of the degree, so hopefully that will help. And then I don't know if you can read this very clearly on your screen, but Dana kindly emailed out this PDF to you so you can look at it and actually read it. And here is where the changes are highlighted. You can see that it really on the degree pathway takes effect at step 9. And right now the way it reads is that an individual has to have 3 quarter credits in human growth and development, 3 in LEC, and 3 in UGB. We did just go to the Professional Development Committee meeting and ask to loosen up this requirement a little bit so that we did see that there's not, people don't have, there aren't classes that are just specifically focusing on UGB, and so we don't want to make an impossible requirement. We know that UGB is in a lot of classes because of the community colleges are NAYC accredited, and so they're woven throughout. So we're trying to work with community colleges to figure out what classes already have UGB so we can pull those out. But we don't have all that information yet, so in the meantime we want to make that a little bit easier. So I think it's going to read something like 9 quarter credits in HGD, LEG, and UGB with at least 1 in each or something to that effect to make it a little bit more doable until we have all of the information from our community college partners and we have that kind of figured out. And then on the college course credit pathway, they can have human growth and development or understanding guiding behavior until step 7.5. So that steps 4 through 7 are still a little bit looser, and then it starts to tighten up at step 7.5. And then as you can see, the community-based training, there's no changes to that pathway because that pathway already has a requirement for hours in every core knowledge category. Any questions about these changes? I see people typing, so I'll go back and wait a minute. Oh, Elizabeth asked, it may not be something to discuss here, but what brought on the change? Let's see, I have a letter that Pam Deerdorf, the director at OCCD, sent out, and the change was brought on by feedback that we got from partners saying that professionals were coming to apply for jobs and work at jobs that had high steps that did not have kind of basic information and curriculum and guiding behavior and child development. So we took that feedback seriously and attempted to solve it with this change. And if you're interested in reading that letter, it's public, so I can definitely send that out. Okay, I see Debbie's typing, so yes, we Debbie wrote, will the reflective overview required statement on the final copy? Yes, we did also change this document just to make it clearer because it wasn't completely clear when a reflective overview was needed. So we tried to clean it up altogether. Okay, any other questions before I move on? So this document, if you are interested in having your own copy, it's available. Actually, it's not on our website, but I can definitely send it to you. And it's to help a person choose what pathway they're going on. So their first step is to check what's in their ORO with what they've done, so to make sure that we have everything. And then this is also to help us not get tons of repeats submitted, which isn't a huge problem, but just so that the person knows kind of what we already have and that they don't have to find all their paperwork from since 1982. And then we ask them to look at if their degree is about children or families. And then we refer them to the training and education criteria to double check that that degree is in the field. And then they need to submit just a copy of their diploma and their transcript listing the degree in the field. So one of the other kind of points of this document is that if a person has a degree, they're able to verify that it's in the field, but say they have training logs going back 15 years, that we don't need all those training logs, and that we can just get their degree, which saves a lot of time with processing. So then if their degree is in something else, then we ask them to submit a copy of their transcript with their courses, so we can look and see what courses they have and which core knowledge category, so they can hopefully still get a high step. And then again, with if they have college course credit, they submit their transcript. If they have a CDA or credential, then they just need to submit a copy of their credential. And actually, before I forget, let me go back a little bit to transcripts. So we only need unofficial transcripts. We don't need official transcripts. And I think we have a little difficulty because when people send official transcripts to PSU, they go to the admissions office, and then we are not able to get those. So it's better if people include the copy with their application so that we make sure that we get it. And then finally, if people are on the community-based training and they have lots of training certificates, then they can submit those copies. I see a question from Rita about enlarging the document, and I don't know how to do that here, but I can send it out so you can have a copy. Okay. I see Lynette's typing, so I'm going to shut up for a second and wait for a question or comment. So for the purposes of evaluating, training and advising is a little difficult if we don't have a complete picture of their classes. I'm wondering when it's a degree in the field. So I'm not sure if I understand the question. I know that it is sometimes difficult for people because if we get a degree in the field, we don't break out all their classes because we know that they are eligible for the step. We can break out classes if people request, like if they need, if they have classes in program management and they need those for the quality improvement. So Lynette, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
So yes, you are, but so a lot of times when it's a degree in the field, it'll just be a degree in the field and they'll get their step and those classes aren't broken out. But I know, like if I am trying to advise somebody on areas of where they might need to fill in, because like I have a degree in the field, but I didn't have a lot in special needs, for instance, then it's harder when I don't know how their classes broke out across the core knowledge categories, especially if we're looking at trying to, you know, follow a pathway or look at just being a more well-rounded individual and covering all the 10 core knowledge categories. It's a workload issue. I understand that.
Yeah, we can do that if that's something that's needed for advising. We don't do it automatically, but you can call us or the professional can call us and we can have those classes broken out. And we do that, like I said, when people, you know, when they need hours to show that they have hours in program management and they took something and they're in the field degree. So we can definitely do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so any questions about the 2015 STEPS changes or questions about assisting a person to choose a pathway? And if you have any really good tricks for helping people choose a pathway, I would love it if you would share them.
So Sarah, this is Kathleen Walker Henderson.
Hi, Kathleen.
And I have, let me turn my computer down so I'm not echoing. I have noticed that a lot of the ones that have been processed recently, that things have been just clumped into LEC, particularly my college credits. Is there a particular procedure that you would like us to go through to reevaluate when we feel that they're not in the right category?
So if you feel like a class has not been assigned the correct core knowledge category, then the best thing to do is to call or email, and we can look at that and see if we made a mistake and missed something, if we need a description or a syllabus.
Yeah.
That happens.
We have one, an EDU 133 that is computers and education, and it's been consistently put in LEC, but a few times in, I believe, program management, because that's what it actually is teaching them how to make documents and that kind of thing. And so I think even one time I might have sent the syllabus with it, and I'm not sure. So I just would like us to be a little more careful about, not just lumping everything into LEC.
Yeah, definitely. One of the issues that's come up with the changes to the STEPS document is that we need to figure out a way to make sure that what we're giving classes is consistent with what the college thinks the class should get. So
is your intent to ask the colleges at some point?
Yeah, that is something that we're working on, is to try to gather all of the objectives so we can figure out which core knowledge categories they should have. And the ultimate goal is to be able to publish that somewhere so that people can look and see which classes have which core knowledge categories, so they can make sure before they take the class that it's going to help them move up on
the rules on a college, a 3-credit class, is that it could actually hit 2 core knowledge areas, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well,
or 3.
so that's something we're having to reevaluate, because it used to be that we tried to, for speed and accuracy purposes for verification, we tried to limit the number of core knowledge categories, ideally to 1 per class, and then at most 1 core knowledge category per credit. But what we're seeing is that with our new requirements, we need to be more flexible about that. So we're trying to gather all this information from the community colleges and put it all together, but that isn't a fast process. And then also it's a matter of the verifiers having to look up every single class as opposed to just kind of being able to remember where classes go. And so there's a couple different pieces of, we want to give the classes all that they deserve, but we also want to be verifying people's information in a timely manner. So we're working on that. It's definitely not complete. And any of you that have, I haven't made contact with every single community college, so anybody that has access to that information, I would be happy to talk to you after the webinar to kind of talk more.
Well, and I won't have time today. I have another obligation, but I'll definitely contact you later, Sarah, on this issue, because what I've been doing with a few of them is when I'm turning in their training stuff with their transcript, writing on the cover sheet, if there's something that I see that might need to be relooked at. And I wasn't sure that if anybody looks at those or if that should be the right way to do it.
So the difficulty with the cover sheet, if you write on the cover sheet, the verifiers don't usually see that, because the cover sheet just kind of helps the training get linked to the right category. And if you write it on the actual transcript, it sort of depends. Because sometimes they're going super fast, and they're just like assigning core knowledge categories and verifying them, and they're sort of under the instruction that anything written on the transcript is not, how shall I put this diplomatically?
Well, yeah, anybody could do that.
Yeah,
you want it to be something official from somebody who knows.
Yeah, the best way is to have them call us, or for you to call us, or send an email, and then we can.
Well, and I'm wondering if there couldn't be another little form that just says I want this to be reevaluated, and just attach it with the transcript. That we could do that more simply. But you guys.
That's a really good idea. I'll definitely take that back to Pam, because we need a way for people to be able to communicate, because I have noticed that sometimes a person will send in their transcript a whole bunch of times, and we just keep linking it. And when that person calls and I see, oh yeah, you've sent it a bunch and it's just gotten linked, and it didn't cue us to reevaluate it until they called in. So a form is a really good idea to be able to bring our attention to it. So I'll see.
Well, with the scholarship, I'm going to be sending them in every term, because that's the requirement of the scholarship. So you're going to get, the same stuff over and over again. And so, yeah, so you can direct to what's new, that type of thing. It just would make it faster, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea. And in the meantime, you're welcome to give me a call or even call the front desk. And if I'm not in, there's somebody here that will be able to help with that. So
Yeah,
I
I
see
appreciate
more.
the quick responses on the emails. Yes, you've been very good with that.
I try my best. So yeah, I see lots of other agreement that we need a form to ask for revaluation or some way to do that quickly. So I will take that back to the team and figure out how we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments about the anything? Anything so far?
This is Heather from SDA 6. So I think we ran into that issue a lot with these single credit workshops that we put as a part of maybe a training with multiple options and different things. And so we're advertising it with certain CKCs. And then once they take it for college credit, it ends up, instead of maybe being split in two, it all gets lumped into one category. So I'm just sharing what I worked out for this last conference that we did is I am including, and I worked this out with the office, it was that I'm, with everyone that was taking that course for credit, I'm sending a form that I had approved out to those participants so they can include it when they send their transcripts, so that they can get that dual credit and that it doesn't get just lumped into one category. And I think it's just these little extra steps that for clarification that have to happen, because you know, we don't have that form yet as far as the reevaluating. And I've also had some people take college classes that they're being really again, because we're trying to get them to be intentional about the classes that they pick, and so they're thinking it's under one category, and that's why they're doing it, and then it ends up being different. So I'm excited to hear that there's going to be a way to kind of check back in and negotiate where that's going to land.
Yeah, we really struggle with those one credit classes, especially when the title is like special studies or something that doesn't immediately cue us. So I recognize that as a really, it's a big problem, and especially when they had it as community-based and they're getting it turned into college credit, I recognize that's a big issue. So we are aware of it and trying to figure it out. So I appreciate all your feedback about it. I think having a form or some way to do that is a really good idea.
And that's what I guess I wanted to make sure that I mentioned, is that on our parts, if we're the ones helping with that training or partnering with that training, that there's some things that we can do to make sure that happens through the office so that it gets put in the right spot the first time. So
yeah, that's great. Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments? Okay, I'll go ahead and move on. So with regards to credentials, here in our office we have the infant toddler credential, the school age credential, and the director credential, and those are meant to document experience as well as training and education. So they're best for people who've been in the field for a while and can document that they've been working. The CDA credential, the Child Development Associate, is better for somebody who's kind of newly entering the field because it doesn't have that experience requirement. And they have the preschool, the infant toddler, the family child care, and the home visitor credentials. We're really working on our credential program because right now we don't have a ton of funding or staff time for it, and we're trying to figure out really how it fits into our professional development system and how to get the most out of it. So that can be a little bit confusing. And then, of course, people just talk about credentials as, you know, people are credentialed, and that can kind of muddy the waters a little bit. But we have Oregon Registry credentials, and then there's the CDA credential, and I think for the ones that we accept, those are the main ones. And then just wanted to quickly review the statewide scholarship program because there were some changes this fiscal year. So the goal is to support the advancement of the Oregon Registry step in credential and degree completion. So the change is that we have more scholarships for people who have steps 3 to 8.5 and fewer scholarships for people who have steps 9 and above. So the requirements are very similar to the education award requirements. They need to be working at least 20 hours a week in a certified center or a certified or registered family child care program. And what is covered is for people can have conferences and cohort trainings in Oregon approved. They can have a scholarship for community college coursework. They can have, there's a scholarship for the CDA fees, both the applying for the credential and the observation. And that's also true with our Oregon Registry credential. There's scholarships for the fee and the observation. And then a person can also get a scholarship to have their out-of-country in the field degree translated and evaluated. And then for the people with the higher steps, they can also attend a conference or have their degree translated and evaluated. So hopefully that's helpful to those folks who have those out-of-country degrees and people who want to attend conferences. Okay, and this is the scholarship contact information. One change we made is that people used to have to fill out the entire yellow or white in Spanish professional development plan, and now we have, you can't see it very well here, but we sort of reduced it for purposes of the scholarship to make it a little bit easier. And there is a difference. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is Kathleen Walker Henderson again, and I have two comments on this previous slide. One of them is that for the step 3 through 8.5, the scholarship only covers classes that have prefixes of EDU and ECE. And our college is Human Growth and Development class. It's actually a PSY. It's a Psychology 235 Human Growth and Development class. And so I'm going to be having a lot of people spring term take that class and would like them to be able to get this scholarship. And I just want to bring that to your attention, that I think that the PSC 235 should also be included in the scholarship. The other comment is after step 9, they're not giving any credits for college credit because, of course, they assumably have an associate's degree. Mm-hmm. But if that associate's degree is not in the field, they still need 30 hours of early childhood. And so I have a concern that there's not that support for those people who may have already a step 9 but don't have any human growth, guiding behavior, or LEC type credits.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, your original point about the PSY prefix for human growth and development class, definitely, since we're requiring that human growth and development, I think it's definitely.
And I plan on talking to Nancy about this too. These are just two things that have recently come to my attention with my work. So before I really didn't know all of the rules. And so between this webinar and my discussions with her, I definitely think we need to relook at those two things.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah, I can bring that up with our director and see what we can do about that.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments about scholarship? Okay, I'll go ahead and move on. So my question here is basically what might be your next action in supporting professionals, and what resources do you need from us to be able to do that? Sounds like one of the things I'm hearing is some way to let us know that college course credit needs to be reevaluated for CKCs, and looking at some of the scholarship requirements to support people getting human growth and development hours and people with out-of-the-field step 9s. What other types of resources would be useful from us? I see Heather's typing, so I'll wait for a minute. So Heather has made a chart of the Mount Hood Community College courses CKCs and wants to do something similar for PCC. That is exactly the type of thing we are wanting to do. So let's work together on that so we can make sure that we're also getting the stuff in there correctly. Thanks, Heather. And I see Lynette's typing, so I'm going to wait a little bit more. Lynette has a similar chart for Lynn Benton, and I would love to see these charts because they might help me compare what you've got with what we're doing, or also look and see if we need to add additional core knowledge categories. What we're really hoping to do is compare what we've been doing with what is in the course objectives. Thanks, Heather. Any other questions before we wrap up? If you do think of something that you would like from us later, I'm putting my email, in the chat box. Now I'm going to put it in correctly. So you can email me. Sometimes you get an idea a couple days later. So please feel free to get in touch. And then, yeah, I think it's 10:57. So it's about time to wrap up. Any final questions or comments? Thank you for listening to me for the past hour. I'm very grateful.